You're listening to Discutafel podcast, your green audio about gardening, the outdoors and sustainability. Believe it or not, but this is episode 157 of Discutafel podcast, your own green audio. And this show was released on December the 14th, 2023. And you can catch up later if you wish, because it's always worth listening to. My name is Yvonne Smit, and this is the second of 4 episodes about Kew Gardens. And the coverages were recorded in December 2022. During our total visit to Kew Gardens, we will stop at 5 highlights, and I would especially recommend to you the last show in the series, where we meet highlight number 5, which is a mixture of animal science and art. But back to this episode. For now, we concentrate on highlights number 2 and 3, which are the Temperate House and the Palm House. We explored the Temperate House, although during my visit it was closed, so I admired the exterior only. But I went back a second time, so in the rubric Discu Knowledge you'll hear why this Temperate House is so important for the plant world and what I've seen there. First we concentrate on the famous Palm House. We start this Discu coverage with some remarkable facts. Discucoverage. The large palm house in Kew Gardens was arguably the first greenhouse to be built on this scale. It is 110 meters long and nearly 19 meters high. And the later Temperate House at Kew, of which we will talk later in this episode, is in fact even larger. Well, this palm house in Kew Gardens was constructed in 1844 and completed a couple of years later in 1848. A remarkable fact is that about 5 to 10 years ago, the staff had to fell the oil palms which had reached the roof and broken through one of the glass panes. Next to the palm house is a small square glass house. It's the water lily house, and it was designed specifically to showcase the giant Amazon water lily, which was considered a natural wonder of the age. The Latin name of this plant is Victoria amazonica. This small water lily house was completed in 1852, so a couple of years later than its big neighbor, the palm house. In this Discu coverage, we first discover the oldest pot plant in the world. And the famous Sir David Attenborough pays attention to this plant in a nice short video. In one of the blogs accompanying this podcast series on Kew Gardens, you'll find a link to this video. So, let us trade in the footsteps of Sir David and enter the Palm House. At the entry of the Palm House, I see what is probably the oldest pot plant in the world. It's an Encephalartos altensteini, for your information. And this plant has been lived through Kew's entire history as a botanical garden, so it's quite old. It has been collected by Kew's first plant hunter. His name was Francis Masson. And it left the shores of the Eastern Cape in South Africa in 17 1873 and endured a long ocean voyage before finally arriving at Kew in 1775. What I see in front of me is a big pot made of wood, filled with some kind of compost, some kind of sand, let's see. A bit crumbly. And then a palm-like tree, plant. So a couple of 100 years old. Impressive. It's a little bit taller than I am. Plants here in the Palm House are grouped by continents, so we have the Americas and Australia, etc. And some of these plants here wouldn't have survived without the help of the plant hunters and the people here at Kew Gardens and their colleagues all over the world. We saw signs which explained some projects about protecting the endangered species and putting them back into the wild whenever possible. That is to say, when the war is over in Colombia or some other country in the world, because all kinds of conflicts and political situations make it impossible for scientists to enter those woods and nature reserves. But as soon as the problems are over, they try to protect the plants and encourage them to grow back into the wild. I don't know about you, but I like to use my own veggies, my own grown veggies from the garden in the kitchen. But unfortunately, I do not have a black pepper tree yet. But they do have a black pepper tree here in the Palm House at Kew, in the Australasia section. And the sign says that this hot and pungent spice is one of the world's most popular seasonings. Pepper is made from the fruits of a climbing plant, the Piper nigrum, and I see one of them here. It's native to India. It is now cultivated as a crop throughout the tropics. On each flower spike, up to 150 flowers are produced, and each flower produces a berry-like fruit containing one single seed. And these seeds are harvested to make your pepper for your kitchen. Black, white and green peppercorns all come from this plant, this Piper nigrum. White peppercorns have had their outer skin removed. I'm still standing in the Palm House at Kew Gardens, and I took the stairs to just under the roof, so I look down on the green leaves of all those trees and plants in the Palm House. And I see bromeliads climbing up the trees as if it were monkeys. The school children have left the building, so it's a bit quieter now. It's very impressive to see those big green leaves under me. The Temperate House here at Kew was formerly known as the Winter Garden, as it could be enjoyed in the winter months. But unfortunately, in this winter month, in December 2022, I won't be able to go inside because of the closure times here in the gardens. You must be aware whenever you visit the garden that they open at dawn, I think, but they close soon. They close as soon as the sun goes down, which of course is early in December. But it's a very pretty building on the outside, lots of white and glass, of course, and ornamental vases at the entrance. And the Temperate House was commissioned in 1859 by the director of Kew, and it was designed by a renowned architect with the name of Decimus Burton. It has been opened to the public for the first time in 1863, but it wasn't ready at the time. It took another 36 years to complete the building. The Temperate House has been restored in about 2013 here, and it now contains 1,500 plant species from the temperate regions of the earth. Many of these plants are currently rare. You heard it before. Botanical gardens like Kew play a main role in conservation and protection of rare species. That's also the case here with the plants in the Temperate House. There's only one solution for the fact that I can't go inside now. I must come back some other time. And I will, maybe. As Discutafel thinks Kew Gardens is inspiring for green hobby gardeners and for professionals alike, we explored the gardens and released a podcast series in December 2023. And to accompany these series, we published blogs about Kew Gardens, their history, their importance for now and for the future. Go to the English pages on Discutafel.nl and use the tag Kew Gardens. Discu knowledge. Well, I did come back to Kew Gardens. Yes, I did. In July 2023, so in midsummer, I explored the Temperate House from the inside. And since then, I learned this is the largest surviving Victorian glasshouse in the world. It's 191 meters long and thus almost twice the size of the Palm House. I didn't notice that when I stood there. I did not make recordings during my second visit to Kew Gardens, and that was because I was on a holiday with my travel companion. So please visit Discutafel.nl to see some photographs and a blog about the Temperate House and its plants. For now, in the rubric of Discu Knowledge, just an extra minute or so about this highlight of Kew Gardens. In the Temperate House, there are temperate zones, and the temperate zones of the world are very important for us, as most of us human beings live there, and we grow our food there. But unfortunately, this also means many plants in the temperate zones of the world risk extinction, and gardens like Kew may prevent the extinction of those plants. Being tender plants, most of the species grown in the Temperate House are unable to tolerate temperatures below freezing, so with a preferred minimum temperature kept at around 10 degrees Celsius through the UK's cold winter, they will manage to survive. I especially enjoyed the ferndale in the Temperate House. The view from the gallery down on the tree fern foliage is really unforgettable. I would advise you to visit the treetop walkway nearby, because from one point you can look down on the Temperate House and appreciate the exterior. Discu finish. Unfortunately, time is up now, but don't worry, there are more shows about Kew Gardens. Thank you very much for listening to us. Please feel free to contact us on X or send us an email. We would love to hear from you. In the next episode of this series, we will visit the Princess of Wales Conservatory at Kew. We expect to release that episode on December 21, 2023. In the meantime, let's go outside, and until next time.